Joining us now for their reaction to the latest from Ukraine and the top political stories of the day, we're joined by Bill Caruso. He's a Democratic strategist and an attorney as well. Also joining us is LaToya Nkongolo. She's a Project 21 ambassador and District 31 delegate of the Maryland General Assembly. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
So let's get your thoughts on what do these latest attacks mean to the President Trump's push for peace in the region. Let's start with you, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we keep talking about this. This is the challenge. And if you are a fan of peace, if you're a fan of democracy, you're rooting for peace here. You're rooting for the president to be able to, and the global community to be able to come to some resolution. But Putin can't be trusted. Here we are again. And I think the challenge right now is I don't think Putin wants peace. I think Putin wants what Putin wants. And at some point, whether it's, working through diplomatic channels, there are still some trade sanctions and other things we can deploy, but military force deployed by Ukraine, right, supported by the West, may be the only option here to push back against Putin. And so, we pray for peace, but we prepare for war. And I think at this point, it's really a challenging situation the president finds himself in of trying to figure out how to get Putin to the table and get Putin to stop doing what Putin's doing right now.
Sure. Well, we're going to switch gears here. LaToya, you're from Maryland, so I wanted to get your thoughts on these remarks by President Trump on your state's governor.
Baltimore, Wes Moore was telling me I want to walk with the president. Well, I said, I want to walk with you too someday, but first you got to clean up your crime because I'm not walking in Baltimore right now. Baltimore is a hellhole. And this guy, I don't even think he knows it. He's another candidate for president. Between him and Newsom, you got some real beauties, I'll tell you.
What are you hearing from locals? What can you tell us? But and also the comment about the president's thoughts there.
Well, I can tell you that once upon a time I did live in Baltimore City, so President Trump is accurate in his statements because Baltimore is crime-ridden. Just recently we had a mass overdose where dozens of people were sent to the hospital. Crime is out of control, carjackings. Our president, or not our president, but our governor, he brags about our murder rates are down. However, the other crimes are still up. And it's not a safe city to live in, and it's not fair for the people who live there that have to live amongst this crime. So he's right about our governor. Our governor, he wants the presidency one day, and he's poking the bear. He wants this national attention, this spotlight, so he can gain name recognition. And he's losing sight on the fact that people in Baltimore City are suffering due to the lack of focus on keeping our neighborhoods safe there.
You know what, Bill? Everyone always talks about, that great HBO series, The Wire. And they praise The Wire. I never watched an episode of The Wire. Why? Because it actually put it in the reality of many people into a Hollywood fictitious situation, but it was real life for people. And politicians, after election, they never address these problems. So why are people like Governor Wes Moore and others pushing back on Trump instead of saying, we do have a problem, here's what we need to do? And I appreciate resources at the federal level to finally get control of our inner cities. What say you?
Well, first of all, my friend, I think we were separated at birth because I, too, have never seen The Wire and don't feel as though I would want to. It's not something I'm interested in either. We were more alike every day, John. But on the seriousness of this topic, I don't see what Wes Moore is doing as a wrong thing, inviting the president for a partnership to come look for himself and then develop things, because here's the problem. I'm actually for using federal resources, including the National Guard where appropriate, to help quell some of this violence and crime that is going on in America. We can't ignore it. But what's the long-term solution? Having troops on the ground in our cities perpetually is not sustainable from a financial standpoint or just a good look for our country. That's just not how our country rolls. So as a temporary measure, sounds good. But what's the long-term plan? And what are we going to do together, right, with the federal help and also at the state and local level to make sure that once and for all, places like Baltimore, Philadelphia, Chicago our nation's capital remain safe. And so it's a good first measure, but it's all a bunch of political posturing. The president's saying we're going to get tough on crime. You have Democrats pushing back. Where's the coordination together to figure this out long term for the residents that live there every day and the law enforcement people that are charged with keeping place safe? That's the missing ingredient right now.
Before we move on, I just have to make this point. You said, and many other Democrats say, you know what? The optics of having the military on inner city streets. Well, you know what? How about the optics of these drug dealers and gang members with these automatic weapons semi-automatic, excuse me, on these streets? That's a bad look too. And that's been there for generations. So I don't want to hear this crap about law enforcement on these inner city streets. We need to bring law and order, keep people safe, and once we establish safety, then we can actually rebuild the neighborhoods.
Agreed.
So true. Yeah. And at that same cabinet meeting, LaToya, the president, of course, chimed in on the most important move of the day.
Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are engaged, and the world wants your reaction, sir.
Well, I wish him a lot of luck. I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy, and I think that she's a terrific person. So I wish them a lot of luck.
I mean, this is dominating the news. My goodness. And we know the Swift-Trump history is a little rocky, but he wishes them good luck. He takes the high road. What are your thoughts on that, LaToya?
Look, I'm no Swiftie, but what I'll say is that I wish them the best. I hope they bring their strengths to the table. Marriage is already hard as it is, especially in Hollywood. So I don't know. I don't have much faith in those celebrity marriages these days.
You know, Bill, what's your take? Because, you know, I hope it's a long-lasting relationship instead of Kansas City barbecue.
Listen, I'm a lawyer. I'm a father of 3 boys. On the scale of things that I care about in my life, this is not even close to the top. I wish them luck. I wish them goodwill. And as my counterpart just said, marriage is tough here, right? I mean, over 50% of marriages in Hollywood is even worse. So God bless, good luck, and I hope you're happy together.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because all of her songs are about dissing men. But anyway, not that I know, I just read about it. But we'll move on to this. Last but not least, we have to talk about Cracker Barrel. Scrapping its newly unveiled logo and reinstated its classic old-timer design after a week of customer outrage and political backlash. What lesson can we learn from this whole thing? Can Cracker Barrel learn from this whole thing, LaToya?
What they can learn is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. No one complained about the logo to begin with. You know, we want to just sit in our rocking chairs and go in and eat our biscuits and apple butter. Leave us alone. We were all satisfied until they made it an issue.
You know what, LaToya? I said this the other day.
Every day.
Don't touch the biscuits and apple butter. But you know what? I'm going to take a different turn here, Bill. You know what? Many organizations are trying to figure out how do we connect with the future, right? The youth right now into the future. So I don't have a problem with a company changing its logo, rebranding, doing different things to explore with the future. But I don't think the company messaged this change. They should have signaled it and stated why, separate from any DEI or any other nonsense, because in absence of such, people will label it. Just like politics. If you fail to get your message out quickly, then the media and other people will actually brand you different than your initial intentions. What say you?
Oh no, I 100% agree with you. You gotta use your words. You gotta talk about what you're doing. Don't assume people are gonna understand it. But you know, for some reason here in our world, we've decided that nostalgia and these things don't matter anymore. Even the new generations, I think they do. I think there's the nostalgia. People go to Cracker Barrel for this reason. Probably the biscuits and apple butter too. So why change what's working? And it sounds like this was a big mistake all around. They learned their lesson. other companies should pay attention to this. Remember new Coke versus old Coke? These things aren't new. Stop changing when you don't need to change.
That is a classic example because you had people writing letters back then and staging protests off of Coca-Cola.
Right.
Like, that is huge.
But with Cracker Barrel, their stock got clocked. So I think that kind of plays into here as well.
That is so true. And the thing is, I think this situation is different, LaToya, with regard to, let's say, Target. Putting certain things, on the shelves and in the front of the store, going with, the very controversial type of attire and initiatives. And this was just a logo change. They didn't even bring in, let's say, a member of that community to be, let's say, a brand ambassador. They just changed the logo and it created a uproar. So it really explains the type of environment and the landmine that many of these companies have to actually navigate through. What say you?
No, I agree. I mean, it wasn't a change in product. It was just a change of the visual. That logo symbolizes a lot for us. A lot of us in our childhood, and us who have had family dinners at Crackle Barrel for years. So it was a change that impacted a lot of us because there's a lot of nostalgia for us when it comes to Crackle Barrel. It's tradition for a lot of people.
Tradition.
And I'm going to say this other really quick thing. Many of these companies are struggling with pricing pressure and sometimes upgrading the restaurant, the ambiance, and possibly refreshing the logo because that new logo looks a little bit more expensive. It's plain, but it looks a little bit more upscale. So maybe they were trying to upscale because even McDonald's, remember what happened to McDonald's? They started renovating the restaurants and guess what? The menu prices started increasing. So a lot of companies are using a similar strategy.
But I think the best is on social media, you'll see the Trump image sitting there leaning on the barrel. I thought that was classic. All right. Bill Caruso, LaToya Nkongolo, thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day.
Have a great day, guys.